Hi, welcome back. We are going to start a tutorial for the digital photography and design class. This is the video number 3. This is going to be on selections and layers. Okay, so we're going to learn how to make selections of things. We're going to learn how to move them from file to file. We're going to learn how to set up layers. Okay, so I've got my Photoshop file open here, and I've opened a picture that has some things in it. It doesn't really matter what picture you have open. You can open whatever you like. We need to set this file up in a way that is going to be usable for layers. So we're going to start with how layers work a little bit. I'm closing this window on the right side over here, and if I would like to open anything back up, I can over here where it says layers or history or things like that. Out of these settings, I think the things that are the most important for you to have up for sure are your layers and your history. Your layers are built in a way, it's almost like you can imagine it like tracing pieces of tracing paper on top of each other. So if I make a new layer, it will go on top of the stack of tracing paper, and that'll make a lot more sense here in a minute. The second tab that's nice to have open is your history menu, and this will remember everything that we do in this file, and we'll go back to that after we do a few things and then go back through our history. This particular tab also has color added into it. Just for now, I'm going to pull it out of the way and close it so that we don't have that in the way. So we have our history and our layers showing right now. Okay, so over here on the right we have our history, or our layers open. This file is open. It's a hot air balloon JPEG. Okay, up here at the top it tells me what it is. I still have my toolbar on the left. We're going to go through probably the top 4 tools over here and use them to make selections and show how they work in the layers. Now when you open up a normal Photoshop file, if it's the first time you've opened it up, you'll notice that over here this layer, or this is a layer where my cursor is now, says background. I'm going to change that because it's written in italic, and if it's written in italic it means that it's trying to lock your file. Here's a little lock icon that shows that. So by double clicking on that, I can rename the layer something that I would like to rename it. Right now I'm just going to keep it as layer 0 because I don't really have something to name it, but if I wanted to I could name it balloon, or whoops, balloons. Okay, and then that comes up over here, and you'll notice that it's not in italic any longer, and it is able to be selected. So when I have it selected or highlighted, it's called my target layer. If we're going to make more layers here and do some other things, and you'll see that you can jump from one layer to the next. So let's say I wanted to make a new layer. I can go up to the very top right corner. There's a little arrow. I can click on that and say new layer. Okay, it gives me lots of other things to do here too. I can flatten my image, which will flatten all of the layers down. I can group layers together. If I wanted to do that, I can delete a layer. I can duplicate a layer. Maybe let's try that first. I'll duplicate this layer, balloons, copy. Okay, and now I have 2 layers. Okay, there's 2 layers. One's a balloons copy and one's a balloons. I can also make a new layer by going to the top right corner there and say new layer. I'll call this one layer 1 because I don't have anything to label it. But you can see that that one's blank because it's not duplicated. But now I have 3 layers. The one that's highlighted is my target layer. So if I would like to move something or do something, make a selection in a particular layer, I have to be in that layer to do it. So let's say I want to move something in this picture. The first tool over here is my move tool, and I cursor over it and it says move. I can click on it and I can come over here and I can move this. Okay, now I'm moving something, but I can't really see what I'm moving. What I was actually moving was balloons layer. If I move up to the top layer, which is balloons copy, I can move this layer, and now I can see, oh, okay, I really do have duplicate of my first layer. These little eyes over here show me what I want to see. So if I click on this, it hides balloon's copy, and if I click on this one, it hides the other layer. Okay, so whichever layer I want to work on, I have to have be my target layer. So if I click on this layer, it moves this one. If I click on this layer, which happens to be the one on the top, I can do this. Okay, so let's say I want this layer to be on the top or in the bottom. I can click on this layer and drag it down, and now this one happens to be on the top. Oh, I'm sorry, this one. Okay, so the layering has to do with the position of where they are in this sequence. If it's on the top, it'll be the layer that you see that's on the very top. If it's on the bottom of a layer, might be hidden by the other layers that are underneath it. Now, one cool thing to do, or another option that you have over here in your layers menu, is something called opacity. If I click on this layer here, which happens to be the one on the top, and I go to opacity and slide this slider over, I have now made that top layer see-through. So I can look through and have a transparent layer. Opacity is how dark, how thick it is, whether I can see through it or not. So I've just changed the opacity of this top layer, which is this layer, and am able to see this layer underneath it, which is pretty cool. Let's put them, maybe arrange them a little bit here so they look different. And that looks kind of cool like that. We've already started to create some sort of a collage here by working with these layers. Other things you can do with the layer, or you might want to do, I'm going to drag layer or balloon's copy and pull it into the trash. Let's say, oh, I don't want that anymore. It's gone. Okay. I'm going to Control Z and get it back for a second. These other things down here are other effects and things that you can add. One thing you want to be careful of is clicking on this tool, which is a masking thing. It gets a little complicated if you start to do that. There are some effects you can add to the layers, but those will just be, you can just experiment with those. A lot of times they look really deliberate, but you might work with those with type and things like that. Usually I recommend effects for type and doing drop shadows and things like that. Okay, you can have unlimited number of layers. You can have tons of layers going over here if you'd like to. You can have label them any way that you like, and turn some of them off if you'd like to, or turn some of them on if you'd like to. I think what I'm going to do now is bring in a new file and start to group a few layers and do some other things here. So I'm going to go up to File, Open, and I'm going to look for another file to bring in. So I'm going to bring in this whale tail picture. And now it's up here at the top like I showed in the earlier videos. You can pull it away if you'd like. I'm putting it back up here in the top. And I can toggle between these two pictures. So if I go to the whale tail picture, I can see that one now says background. So I'm going to double click on it like I did earlier so that I can now make a selection, or I can do something with that layer. And I'm going to pull this down like that. Okay, so I've released it from the top so I can see both pictures. And one simple way to copy everything from one picture into the other is select the layer you want and just drag the layer onto the other picture and drop it in there. Okay, so I didn't make an actual selection. I copied all of the pixels. If I go back to the hot air balloon picture, voila, now it's made its own layer. That's hidden in the background, or at least I can see that on here because of the transparency settings we've got. But now we've added an extra layer, which is kind of cool. All right, so we've created a few things, or we've manipulated them a little bit. Let's see. Let's say that I have two layers that I want to group together. I would like that. I'm done working on them, and I think that I want them to be together at in the same place, or on the same layer. Like, let's say balloons copy and balloons I want to have grouped together. I'm done with the way that they look. I don't want to change them anymore. I'll turn off the other two layers that I don't want to have grouped. So balloons, copy, and balloons are the only two that are being seen now, even though there are more pictures in the file. And I'm going to go up to the right corner and I'm going to go merge visible. Okay, if I flatten image, it's going to put all of them together. But if I merge visible, now those two layers are grouped together. And I've just merged them together, and that can be very helpful if you do a lot of work and you get things in the exact place you want them and you know that you don't want them to be separated anymore. Like let's say you're compositing some particular part of a person's face and you finish the nose and you want to group everything that has to do with the nose together. Other times you want to keep everything separate, so that'll be up to you to decide whether you think you want to group layers or not. I'm going to try and Control Z. Oh well, I'm not going to step back. Oh, this is a good chance to use the history menu. Let's say I don't want those grouped anymore. I jump to my history menu. And this remembers everything that I've done in this picture since I've opened it up. If I click on here, it shows exactly what it looked like when I first opened it up. As I move down, it shows me everything that I've done, and I can jump back and forth to any particular starting or ending point that I'd like to. This is why Photoshop is so powerful. It's also why it takes a lot of RAM memory to run it. But here's where I merge the visible. So if I move back here and get to some other point, like let's say I want to get to where I drug the whale tail in right here, and we'll just start working from that point forward again. And I'll just start working it, ungroup my layers, and I'm back to where I was before. Now another big thing about layers is how do I change the size of these things? This is done by choosing your target layer, okay, and going to Edit, Transform, Scale. Now all of these things you can do, okay, so if I wanted to flip it or distort it, you can try all of these different things. Let's just scale for now. I'm going to say OK, scale, and I'm going to click on the corner of this and drag it. You can see that it's making just that layer smaller. Okay, once I get it to where I want it to be, I double click inside that box and it goes away, and now I have that picture smaller. I'm going to drag it to the top so you can see what I just did a little bit better. Okay, so right now I just resized this group of pixels, which is layer 2. Okay, let's do that again. I'm going to do Edit, Transform, Scale, and drag from the corner or wherever. Now if I hold down the Shift key, it will keep things in proportion so it doesn't skew it, and then I can double click inside the box and get that to where I'd like it to be. Okay, so other things you can do: Edit, Transform, let's rotate it. Okay, I'm over here, I'm turning and rotating. Okay, double click, that's where I want it to be, and it's done now. Okay, now just like before, I can always move this to the back or underneath any other layers that I'd like, or put it back up on the top by moving it over here on my layers. Experiment with the other things you can do over here. There's a free transform, which will let you skew this and pull it any way that you want, but it's only happening to this whale tail because that's my selected layer over here on the right side. Okay, I think we are going to end this video and jump to selections for a whole new video, since this has gotten a little bit longer and more complicated than I anticipated it would be. So stay tuned for selections video, and number 4 I think it will be.